Everybody knows who this is. They've told me that in my Keynote 101 session, you always have to start every keynote with a fun fact. This is Charlie Chaplin. And Charlie Chaplin once entered a Charlie Chaplin lookalike contest. And guess what? He came in third. It's a crazy story. But it's not the only thing that's very interesting about this guy. His actual name is Sir Charles Spencer Chaplin. And he is actually one of the most famous persons in the world. And he is also he's a famous global actor, movie actor. Of course, when you think about acting, you always think about Hollywood in the US, and you think about Bollywood in the emerging economies. But he was a plain and simple European guy, actually, Charlie Chaplin. And it's kind of peculiar, because in the end, all we think about, when we talk about Europe, we think about plain, simple guys. But this Charlie Chaplin turned out to be the most promising and the most famous movie actor of all times. And of course, in Europe, we do have something else to be proud of. We are 8% of the landmass, but a few centuries ago, we controlled 80% of the landmass. When we look at Nobel Prizes, Europeans account for more than 50% of Nobel Prizes. This is Barack Obama. He won the Nobel Peace Prize in 2009, and he said that the European Union, Europe, is the single most promising project to tackle global challenges like immigration, like climate change, etc. So actually, in Europe, we have a large history, and we have a lot of things to be proud of. But we do see some challenges ahead. And of course, with global trends, they can either be challenges or they can support you. But for Europe, we actually see a lot of challenges ahead, because we don't know whether our success that we had in the past, whether it will continue in the future. I want to go into some global trends that we are facing with today. I want to bring them really to the ground. I want to bring them really touchdown. Because you see diverging population, a diverging global population. Everybody knows that by 2100, we will be around 11 billion people on this planet. But there's something else about it. If you look at our European population, we will be 6% of global population. It's crazy, because we will be squeezed between big behemoths like Asia and Africa. Of course, you know that whenever it means more people, it means more consumption, it means more product, it means more resources. So we have an intensified global competition for more and more resources. And actually, when you look at this map in Europe, we are pretty much done for, because our energy, our electronics, etc., actually we don't have any resources at our disposal to make sure that we can continue to satisfy our needs. It's very interesting to see how Europe can try to formulate an answer to these challenges. And in a lot of cases, we just end up with technology. Technology is the deus ex machina, is the biggest answer that we can come up with. And we're doing this quite well in Europe. We're using technology in two major ways. We are using it, and probably also in your organizations, we are using it to become more productive, more competitive, more cost-efficient, even more customer-centric. But we're actually going further. We're using technology to create innovations and breakthroughs. We are electrifying the mobility sector. We are using 3D printing to slash manufacturing costs, logistics costs, and it's good for the environment. So we can see that we're really trying to tackle these challenges with our global innovation. But if you look at the European Environmental Agency, and we ask ourselves, these technology changes, what have they brought us? Apparently, it's zero impact. Zero impact. So I ask myself the question, how is this possible? Apparently, we have used our technology actually to solve the wrong problems. We have been trying to not curb our global challenge, but we have been trying to avoid them. And I want to give a clear example for you guys. We have been using technology for a more effective screening of our planet to discover more non-renewable resources. And then you get crazy things like this, where we try to go into the deep sea and we try to mine our minerals for our smartphones from the bottom of the ocean. Or we try to explore the Arctic to look for more oil and gas. It's crazy that we apply technology to solve the wrong problems. Technology is like a cannon. You can put it on your left shoulder and aim left, or you can put it on your right shoulder and aim right. And in Europe, apparently, we have been doing more of the right way too often, right? But sometimes I also ask myself the question, what does all these endless technological possibilities, what does it do with human behavior? Are we able to think rationally when we are confronted with all these possibilities? And here you see something very, very interesting popping up. And I want to take one example, and it's e-commerce. It has changed the way we behave totally. This is a picture of the city where I live. It's the historic city center of Ghent. And it gives a view of how the e-commerce home delivery system is congesting our city center. Whenever I go home, I see 5 delivery carriers, I see bpost, I see bubblepost, I see TNT, I see UPS. It's crowded with last mile deliveries. And we think it's normal, but is it really normal? Is it really normal that I order Deliveroo 5 times a week? Is it really normal that when we have the possibility that we order 10 items from the internet, have it delivered at home, send 10 back, order another 10 and send 9 back to end up with 1 item? I don't know whether it's that normal. These endless technological possibilities, apparently, they do something with our human behavior, right? I want to test that. I want to test that today. Why don't we just ask technology what the truth is and what they are doing to our behavior? Small experiment. Alexa, tell me the truth.
You can't handle the truth.
Apparently, technology agrees. We think that if we have global challenges, we think that technology alone will not fix this. And this is something to remember. So I will make you remember. Alexa, put on my to-do list, technology will not fix things.
I've put technology will not fix things on your to-do list.
Thanks. I want to give you a small insight in how we should deal with technology and how we can use it to shape our human behavior. This is a documentary. It's called Tomorrow. It's actually a French documentary. It's Demain. The main theme of the documentary is the fact that people around the globe use their positive human behavior as a catalyst for change, with or without technology. And they come up with 1 million creative ideas to tackle global challenges from their own viewpoint. I will make them do the talking for themselves. Music's not working? Nee? Ja, geen muziek? Nee, staan de boxen aan? Ja? Maar normaal komt hij daaruit, hè, de muziek. Anders moet jij gaan doen. Hè. Technology will not fix everything. Perfect.
A été publié il n'y a pas très longtemps une information qui annonce la fin possible de notre humanité.
Climate change, destruction of the Earth's surface, and population growth are leading us to a tipping point.
About 3 years ago, Sarah came to me when I was pregnant and told me about this study. It said that my son will grow up in a world where food, water, and oil will be hard to find.
I was running a non-profit when we met. How could we tell people about what we heard when they're already fed up with catastrophes? And how could we tell millions of people?
We had to do something. So we traveled around the globe looking for the men and women who are offering creative alternatives.
It's always so hard.
We didn't start with, shall we save the planet? Because that was too grand. We just start with where we are.
There is no perfect democracy or economic models, but what seemed to emerge from our journey was a new vision for the world, where each community is more autonomous, therefore more free.
En faisant tout à la main sur un tout petit territoire, on peut produire autant qu'avec un tracteur sur un territoire 10 fois plus gros.
San Francisco has an 80% landfill diversion rate. Everything is reduced, reused, recycled, or composted.
These people are writing a new story. They're saying it's not too late, but we have to get moving now.
Now we vote, we govern.
There are solutions, and if we give it everything we've got, if we all join our forces and hearts, we can all start to change the world. Tomorrow.
In Thomas, we have a £21 note. Kind of 21 because you can. Why not?
we tend to have the idea that those movies might have been naive or idealistic. But still, if you think about, and some people who know Möbius or who know me know that I'm a very big fan of the bubble slide. And the bubble slide, in fact, is let's say, a metaphor for what changes could be in an organization or in a society. And if you look at big bubbles, that are very big changes happening to us. And you have a lot of small ones, and that are the ones that we can influence ourselves. And typically you would draw it like this, where you have a lot of, or a limited number of big changes possible, and some that Mathias named, and a lot of the small ones we can do ourselves. You see it also like bubbles rising up. If you don't tackle them when they're small, they get big. And you could say as a metaphor that those are societal, organizational, or let's say more local and individual kind of changes you can tackle. And this is, in fact, if you look at it this is a kind of stimulating the behavior that we as individuals have the feeling that we don't make a difference. That it's, in fact, the big changes that are happening to us, that are big politics, that are, think of the Brexit and so on, where we have the feeling that things are happening for us instead of doing it ourselves. And this might be not the best way to put it. Maybe we should put it like this, where we say, in fact, those are integrated ones, where we say, in fact, we as an individual, we are at the middle, and we are individuals as individual in teams, in organizations, in society. So, in fact, organizations and societies, in fact, they don't exist. It's all human beings, it's all individuals in a certain role. And this might be a more interesting viewpoint, but in this kind of view, you could say, I can make a difference. And if we go a bit more deep into this, for instance, let's have a look at the individual level. And we could say this is a typical figure we all know, is that one of the questions could be, how can we make it easier for ourselves to do the right behavior, even though right behavior is not always the easiest to do? How come we as human beings are typically taking this road? Okay, if we take this road, let's make it then the road. And it has been it was only this year that the Nobel Prize in Economics was on nudging. And nudging is, in fact, small positive stimuli in trying to get into new behaviors. A very interesting topic of Richard Thaler. And if you think about nudging, all people in the Netherlands and in Belgium know this figure. This is the Efteling, where typically small children all are queuing up to put the garbage into the bin, because the hollebolle gijs in this case is saying, put the paper here, and everyone, even the grown-ups, want to put it there. For instance, in Copenhagen, they've done the same, but then they did it with green footsteps to make it, let's say, to nudge ourselves to make sure that things that should end up in a bin, that you're positively stimulated to do so. Two nice examples of how small things, and people working in publicity advertisement know this very well, because this is very heavily used in today's, let's say, attention battle we all having in Google, Facebook, and so on. But these are positive stimuli. A second thing is, we can make it more easy and maybe also more rewarding. The difficult thing is, very often, I heard someone say, I don't know who said, probably we will be changing things rather soon now, because the things that are going to happen are for the next decades, not for the next 100 years. So it means that as of now, it's our own children that will have the effect of our own behavior. Right? Your grandchildren, you typically, in my case, you don't know them yet. You can't look them in the eyes, but your children you can. And then the question is, it's always difficult to change a behavior where you feel now a certain pain to change your habit, and only in future you will feel a positive thing. And these are two examples of technology which helps you. They are based on life cycle analysis, which help you when you buy as a consumer, in your role as individual consumer, which help you to take into account the effect of what you buy on the bigger picture elsewhere in the world, or maybe future generations. So this helps us to bring future into the now, which is a way to stimulate ourselves to think about it a bit more in our daily behavior. This you do in the supermarket in the evening when you're tired, when you don't have energy anymore to not buy the stuff you should not buy. These are my children. And for those who know me, they know that we had an individual, very heavy year last year, a very heavy year disease-wise, on the same day that my son was born. And my girlfriend appeared to have had breast cancer, so this is something you don't want to hear on the day of the birth of, in this case, Aaron. And it was a very heavy period, but it also brought good things. For one, for both of our children, we were searching for an alternative to buying new stuff. Baby stuff, they are extremely expensive, and you only use them short. If you think about reusing stuff, this might be a good moment. So that's where my girlfriend came up with an idea. Why don't we change things? Knowing that if people are getting conscious, they say, why should I buy expensive stuff which you only use 3 to 6 months? Why wouldn't I buy second-hand, for instance? Because it's very qualitative very often. The reason is the market is very unattractive. You need to have a lot of knowledge, the quality is not okay, you need to be negotiating all the time. So we said, okay, on the other hand, those same parents, those customers, 3 years, 4 years later, they're suppliers, so it's a specific case also. And for them, it's also not easy to get rid of the things and so on. So in fact, it's kind of, you buy everything and then you want to get rid of it. And then we said, okay, let's try to make a human face that makes it easier for people to change behavior. Let's make the second-hand market as attractive as the new market. Let's apply new to second-hand with some positive things that change people's behavior. And if you then look, we had the chance that some of the people were early adopters. If you look at those customers, and I did analysis of our customers, then typically each of those customers had inspired 2 or 3 others. And 3 months later, it were around 100 customers, they all had inspired 3 to 2 to 3 different people. And the interesting thing here is that although it starts very small, and we personally, baby stuff is not something we're specifically interested in, you see that the effect of people choosing on such an important moment in their life, for choosing to do it differently, that it stimulates people to do it. And that's what they call the butterfly effect. And the more people who do this, the more things get normal, the more things, that's like a helmet you put on. The more you do this, the more we think of, okay, it's normal that we reuse things. We should not buy everything new. Which then links again to what we were starting with the individual, organizational, and societal level, on which I want to give the answer or the back to.
Can I try to summarize it a bit?
Yes.
Actually, what Gert was talking about is the fact that individuals are being triggered all the time to exhibit the right behavior. And actually, we see that individual behavior is the missing link. And I think we should remember that. Alexa, put on my to-do list. Individual behavior is the missing link.
Individual behavior is the missing link added to your to-do list.
Perfect. I want to go one level further. Actually, everybody in this room is or a customer or an employee of an organization. And actually, the way that we interact with organizations specifically shapes the way we behave. And it shapes our behavior in 2 ways. First of all, we are all consumers. And when we look at ourselves as a consumer, the way that products and services are designed actually have a very big influence on how we behave. I will make it tangible with a small example. This is a water cooker. Who here in the room owns a water cooker? Still a lot. It's a lot of people. I thought it was not really a Belgian thing. Apparently in the UK, 97% of people own a tea kettle. They call it a tea kettle. They use it to make their tea. Now, what is the problem with this water cooker? When you ask a designer to design this eco-friendly, to design this for sustainability, all the designers say 2 things. I will make it more energy efficient, and I will use recycled plastics in my water cooker. But that's the wrong answer. Really the wrong answer. The major impact of this water cooker is not really in the materials or in the energy efficiency. It's in the way that people use this water cooker. And I think it will sound very familiar when you boil water and you try to use it for 1 cup, you boil water for 3 because you don't know how to use this thing. This thing is dumb. It's designed for stupidity, actually. So what we do is when you would compare, we overboil our water, we throw away the water, and actually in the UK, the energy lost in boiling water for 1 day is enough to light the entire UK for 1 night. It's tremendously how much waste there is in this thing. If we could make sure that organizations design products and services so we can behave better, our world would be a better place. Secondly, everybody in this room is an employee. We are a customer, but we are also an employee. Everybody is an employee of a certain organization. We also see that organizations are shaping our behavior the way that they interact with sustainability. And we see that different organizations tackle sustainability in a different way. We have the baby steps, I would say, where you have organizations that integrate sustainability into their supporting activities. They make it easy for you to come by bike. They make it easy for you to turn off the light when you leave the meeting room. But we also see that there are organizations that are stepping up. We see organizations that are integrating sustainability into their core value chain with things like circular economy and stuff. But we also see a new breed of organizations popping up where we see the division between the profit and the non-profit sector really fading. And it's called creating shared value. One of the biggest examples of a shared value company is actually Nestle. Creating shared value means growing a business out of tackling a societal challenge. And Nestle, we all know them from being a food company that sells Smarties and Kit Kats. That's what we know Nestle from. But actually the last few years, actually the last decade, Nestle has transformed itself towards a shared value company, taking away into their slipstream the 2 billion customers and employees and stakeholders that touch Nestle. Actually, they are now a nutrition and wellness company with the slogan, good food, good life. And we see that they have expanded their business portfolio vastly, acquiring the consumer, actually the healthcare nutrition divisions of Pfizer and Novartis, and making actually a very big healthcare company through being a food company. And that's what creating shared value is. They are creating a business out of tackling challenges like malnutrition, overnutrition, and obesity, right? And that's how they influence our behavior, because every year, Nestle touches really 2 billion of customers and other stakeholders, right?
When we look at, you could go one level higher, very shortly going to touch upon this one from my healthcare background. If you think about systems that drive behavior, you can do it at an individual level, at an organizational level, and make your choices there. But when you look at systems level, societal level, you have examples where if you look at the distance, you cannot say otherwise than there are made very illogical choices. And one of the very known examples, and Professor Kas is going to go deeper into that one, is the value chain of patients, where you typically see, and the number varies from 1% to 3%, but that although we all know that care, making sick people better again, is not the best way to create health, still we are only spending 3% of our budget in prevention. Prevention on sports, on food, on alcohol, and so on. Which is, if you go deeper, you can understand this, but if you look from a distance, then it's quite bizarre that we create systems where we spend our enormous healthcare budget completely in the wrong way. Completely. And we see it across countries. It's not even, we typically say Belgium as an example, but it's typically across all examples. A better system, or a system that we in fact all know, is the fact that very often we have taken care tasks away from our society. In fact, we as people, as individuals, as caretakers in the neighborhood, we can do much more. But we have made people a bit helpless by taking that care tasks away to a hospital, to a separate place, while you see now more and more the opposite movement where we see, okay, let's build community-based healthcare systems, where the community is very much involved and helping to realize this system. Not into specialisms alone, but going also to that ecosystem. And this is in fact our key message.
And I will try my magic one last time, because this is something that we also have to remember. Alexa, add to my to-do list systems that drive behavior that are easy,
What
reward.
can I add for you?
Technology doesn't always work. Alexa, add to my to-do list systems that drive behavior that is easy, rewarding, and
I've
normal.
added technology doesn't always to your to-do list.
Almost. I want to end up with one last thing. We've fired a lot of information at you the past 20 to 25 minutes. Of course, we only have to remember 3 things. And if this works, then we might have hit a home run, because I'm going to try one last time. Alexa, what's on my to-do list?
You have 3 items on your to-do list. Technology doesn't always. Individual behavior is the missing link. Technology will not fix things.
Almost everything was right, I think. I want to thank you for your attention.